So, babe, something that we've talked about multiple times and that's been on my mind a lot lately is the difference, like, for women in wanting to be married and wanting to be a wife. And the same thing for men, wanting to be married versus wanting to be a husband. So, when you first hear that initially, what are your thoughts?
My first thoughts to that is that I think originally I think our generation wants to be married. I think the prior generations wanted to be a wife and wanted to be a husband.
Well, what's the difference?
I would say wanting to be a wife and wanting to be a husband, it's a role. Like it's a role that you take on. So a husband is naturally known to be a provider. So a husband will want to come and, you know, he wants his wife because I'll say back then, you know, the only way a man really could have sex is if he got married to the woman.
Uh-huh.
So he would make sure that he would be a provider, and we know that people were having sex before marriage,
Right.
but the the um
Standard, yeah.
the standard was, well, you don't have sex till you get, or you don't have sex till you get married. So as a man, he was like, well, I want to be with this woman, I want to have kids, I need to be a husband and then get married.
Mm.
So he was like, I need to be a provider, because one of the things I feel like the parents would ask, well, what are you going to be able to take care of my daughter? Are you going to be able to do this? Or can you provide for my daughter? Which is husband questions. And I think women were more trained to be a wife because that's what they saw their mothers doing. So they were more trained to be like, no, you got to make sure you do this. You got, like, it was basically standard and protocol. Where now with social media and just in our generation, because we don't want to go by any rules at all, people just get married because it's like, now we've been trained where we'll look at the movies and TV, and it's like, if you're in love, you get married. And it's like, oh, well, we need to be married. It's just like, be married. It's like this ideal fantasy. So I think our generation more so wants to be married because that's what we think you're supposed to do when you're in love. And then we think that you see it on social media, you see your friends getting married, you see these dream weddings, you see all this. So it's like, oh, well, we need to get married. The proposals are getting out of this world. Like, everybody wants to show you the proposals. So
And
that's
that's
what
the
I
thing
mean.
for me. Like, everybody wants to show off the proposals and, do all of these extravagant things, but nobody's showing you how to stay married. And I think that's the difference between wanting to be a husband or a wife versus just wanting to be married. I feel like for women in our generation, it is societal. Like, I'm gonna get married because I love this person right
Hmm.
now in this moment. But if I start not liking him or he do something wrong, I'm gonna leave. There is no um standard or guidance regarding how to stay married, in my opinion, which is why I think, divorce rates are so high because there isn't anything meaningful placed on the title wife or husband. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like everybody's putting all of this weight on just being married, but you got to be a husband and you have to be a wife to stay married. And it's about roles, balance, now more women are working than they did way back when. So what our norms are for staying married look different because typically both individuals are working. But I feel like there needs to be more conversation about the standards and what needs to be done to stay married. Like we know our grandparents, the man was working and the woman was the home taker back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But what is being said about how to stay married now with both individuals working,
Yeah.
and I think that's where a lot of frustration and discord comes in, especially when you start adding kids to the picture and stuff like that. But
I
I just
think there
think,
was there was more pride to be a wife and more pride to be a husband. And my personal opinion, I think men still hold pride being a husband. I don't think women hold any more pride in being a wife.
ooh, pump the
I don't
brakes.
think women really
Time out.
care
Where's the
about
red
a
flag?
wife. I don't think women care about being a wife anymore because so many women frown upon. They look at wife as like subservient. It's more like a title. It's more like I'm a wife. They look at wife to show off to their girls. It's like I'm a wife. Y'all ain't married. Y'all out here looking for a man. That's what wife. The pride is in wife now.
Yeah.
But how they actually view wife is, I ain't about to be here doing this for you. I ain't doing this for you. It's like there's no
And
that role has
I
switched.
think the conversations like for men versus for women are similar but different because in today's world, you have a lot of men that get married so that the woman can take care of him and provide. So I
Mm-hmm.
think the women that feel like that went into the situation on faulty ground. Like most women who like, I ain't about to be doing this and I ain't about to be doing that. It's because they're with a lazy man, a
Mm-hmm.
man that doesn't have a career, a man that doesn't have a drive, a man that they don't feel protected by.
Mm-hmm.
Any woman that is married and feel protected, it's not saying that. It's the women that's primarily the breadwinner saying that. The women that's out here grinding and working and doing all of this while the man is doing the bare minimum. I don't think that's women across the board. I think that's situational. But I also think that women, I feel like women sometimes initially are more attracted to that for the wrong reasons. Like they're like, oh, I want to be with this person and that person and blah, 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 when everything doesn't add up. A lot of people pick one reason or one thing to marry somebody and don't look at the whole package.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it goes both ways. I don't think it's just
Well,
women
I
because
think
some men
I
intentions
mean
when getting
I
married
agree,
ain't pure. It's, well,
but
I
I
know I'm gonna have
think
somewhere to live and I know I'm gonna have some food to eat, so
I
we might as
agree,
well get married.
but I think that women have associated provider with money.
Mhm. I agree.
And I understand that is a big portion of provider, but there's a lot of things that provider isn't just providing money because
Yeah.
you can make a bunch of money but not know how to use it or
Mhm.
not want to have to, a woman may not want to go to a car dealership. She's the breadwinner, but she's afraid the car salesman is going to try to get over on her because she's a
Mhm.
woman, or if her car breaks down.
But like I was saying, to that point, in my opinion, most women who get married and say, I ain't doing this and I ain't doing
Mm-hmm.
that for you, it's because they don't feel protected. It's because they feel like I'm the one that got to go to the dealership and do this because he ain't going to do nothing. Or I'm the one
Mm-hmm.
that got to do this and I'm the one that got to do that. Because if you don't feel protected, that's in every area, financially, physically, mentally, emotionally, in all ways. But you're right. Like, being a provider is about more than just money, it's about everything: physically protected, mentally protected, emotionally, spiritually. It's about all of that. But how many
Mm-hmm.
people take that into account?
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying, and I think that with women and men, the roles, like the big thing, like you said, if a woman feels like she's gonna have to one go to the car dealership, she's gonna have to be the one. I think because of, but that plays into the getting married to be married versus roles. Because I think men and women, I think it was more so. I think everyone assumes now that everybody still has these roles. Like I think women assume a man is going to do this because if you think about it, all right, if when y'all were dating, if that man never took your car to the dealership, never, if you stayed, if I mean, if maybe you stayed in a house or if you had your own house, because that's the big, well, I got my own house, but if he ain't really
Maintaining that
maintain
house.
the house, if he didn't really do anything like that, and then you get married for love, then why now flip it and say, well, I ain't gonna do this. I'm not dealing with this because it's like you knew the man. What like you can't put husband role on him just because y'all got married
I
when you
mean,
didn't marry him for that
I
reason.
agree. People need to accept stuff at face value and don't think that value going to change just because of a title change.
Right.
And I think that a lot of conversations aren't being had, period.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're dating. And you know why? A lot of conversations ain't being had because people too busy screwing
Mm-hmm.
and being all caught up in the euphoria of the physical, but not getting down to the nitty gritty of this person, this soul tie, this emotional connection. Oh, no, who, who's doing that? And I can speak like for us, we was going to church together. We abstain. Is it abstain? Sustain, whichever one
Abstain.
from sex for a while. Like, but we genuinely wanted to get to know each other because we liked each other so much. We didn't even want to bring the physical in because we didn't want it to cloud. Like, okay, do I really like this person for this? Like, who? What's about to come out? Like, we really got to know each other. You know what I'm saying?
And I think what you're saying, that's a good point because, but see, that's the other point. So it's like I think our generation is more about getting to know each other and chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
However, when divorces happen or when arguments splits and stuff, it's always he not being a husband or she not being a wife. And it's like, well, where did these roles come? Like, it's almost like our generation wants to bring up roles when that's
Stuff
not why
going
we get
haywire.
married. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like we bring in roles because it's almost, I mean, it's like if you got them, it's just, it's almost like roles. I think women personally don't like feeling, they feel like a wife is like a husband's here and a wife is here and they don't want to be in like I think everybody kind of wants the Beyonce Jay-Z marriage where
Which
where it's like Beyonce is I mean they're both great artists, but in my opinion Beyonce is the like
icon.
icon.
Yeah.
Like Jay-Z's an icon, but
She's a different type
Beyonce,
of
yeah,
icon
she's a
that's more
like, yeah,
attractive to
she's
this
like,
generation. Yeah.
exactly, she's like the one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of what everyone wants their marriage to be is, well, we both killing it, but low key, I want to be Beyonce and you be Jay-Z, where you doing all the stuff kind of behind the scenes, but I'm the face. And
Mm.
then, and because I don't think they even be like, Beyonce, like I've never really referred to Beyonce, somebody saying that's Jay-Z's wife. It's just Beyonce.
Mm.
Like, or even nobody, like, they don't really say, oh, they say, oh, it's Jay-Z and Beyonce, but they kind of take away the terms husband and wife because I feel like that's almost offensive to be like, oh, a wife. But then on the flip side, when, like I said, when things go haywire, it's, well, I got to be a wife. I got to do this. I got to do this. And it's like, you got to pick and choose which side you want to be
Yeah,
on.
you can't change the narrative based on circumstance. You like as far as marriage goes, you can't try to say I thought I married this or I thought I married that when you knew what you was dealing with before you got married. That's the part that be blowing me. It's
Mm-hmm.
like if you're literally complaining about the same stuff you were complaining about before you got married, that's on you. Playboy,
Mm-hmm.
playgirl, that's on you because you literally what? Think somebody gonna change just because they married you? No. Most people have the mentality of you have to accept me as I am and blah blah blah,
Mm-hmm.
which to a degree that's true, but with marriage, you grow, you age,
Mm-hmm.
you evolve, your needs change, your love language change, your standards change, your jobs change, your salary changes. There's so many changes that take place in marriage that both parties have to be willing to adapt, willing
Mm-hmm.
to work with each other, willing
Right.
to mold together, not feel like, oh, I gotta change who I am. And no, you do have to change, but that shouldn't have to be a bad thing. And I feel like a lot of people, well, some people in marriage feel like it's just their partner that needs to change.
Yeah.
It's always a one sided thing where it's two sided. Like when you're married, you're one. Y'all are two different individuals, but like I said, as you grow and your needs change and stuff, you have to adapt. You have to
Mm-hmm.
meet that other person halfway. Like all this transitioning I've been doing
Mm-hmm.
since we got married, if you weren't the person that you are, and if you didn't know me and understand me to the degree that you do, it could have quickly went, I didn't think this and I didn't
Mm.
think that. But with time, age,
And
circumstances, and
yeah.
everything, we both adapted. Like you started working a new job. Now I gotta pick the boys up and drop them off, and did it. But it was never an issue. It was like we have to adapt in this season to make it work. Not I didn't get married for this. This ain't what It's like you gotta be
And that's the
realistic.
question is what I think, what, like, not in our case, but just a general question I think is like, why do people get married now? Because like I said, I feel, and I'm not, obviously, this doesn't apply to everyone, but I feel like marriage is, and it's not our fault. I think the way all the movies we see was like love. Like all the movies we watched growing, I mean, we grew up in the 90s. 90s R&B was like heartbreak, love, deep drama. Like it was so
No
serious.
more pain,
Yeah.
no more pain.
So it's like, it brung out we're probably the most emotional because we're watching. I mean, our 90s
Not the trapped in
R&B,
the closet.
right? Baby boy is like, I hate you. I mean, we thought marriage is like, because those movies would end in like, I'm gonna marry you, girl. After like all this chaos, so I
Uh-huh.
think the more our emotions get, the more we feel like, oh, this must
This
mean
is
I need
right.
to,
This is what it's
this
supposed to
must mean
be.
I need to marry them because
Yeah.
it's crazy
Right.
and I think we never really saw like shows that mimicked a functional family.
That's true.
I mean, they started getting rid of them, but
Right.
it's like we didn't really see like I mean, even now you got Blackish. Like Blackish is a good
Yeah,
show.
it is good.
However, um, Bo, the wife, she's the doctor.
She's the
What's
Beyonce.
his name? I know his
Uh,
real name, but I forgot his name on the
just
show.
say his real name.
But
Everybody know what you're talking
Anthony,
about. Yeah.
he's works at kind of that
You say Anthony like that's your
at
homeboy.
that he works at that magazine thing or whatever. but it's like they don't really have any roles. It's not like he's the husband, because it's not like it's like he's stuck on sneakers, and like he loves sneakers, and he's learning this and all this stuff, and
Mm,
she's like, well, I gotta move up, or I gotta do this. It's like, so it's a good example of marriage now. However, it really, like, nothing talks about a husband and wife
right.
role in
And I
there.
think that raises a good point for me. Something I just thought about is, as we were growing up, we spent more time at school with our friends,
Mm-hmm.
watching TV, whatever, while our parents were working and doing all the things
Mm-hmm.
that parents do. I said that to highlight the fact that TV can have more of an influence on you
Yeah.
as a child than your parents,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what your parents pour into you, whatever type of life they show you, whatever rules and you follow those rules and you accept those boundaries as you're growing up. But as you become an individual, you have the responsibility of figuring out who I want to be, what I believe, what this and this and that. And we got the TV, we got the music, we
Mm-hmm.
had the MTV jams, we had
Oh
106
yeah.
in Park,
Yeah,
we had
106.
all of those
Yeah.
things. I mean, we couldn't wait to get home and watch 106 in Park at 6 o'clock or whatever time it came on. And all of that is like fueling us, fueling us, fueling us, pouring into the person that we're going to grow up and become, right?
Right.
So while it's not our fault, the things that we are exposed to,
Yeah.
we have to hold ourselves accountable in our adult lives for being better and knowing better and addressing things and accepting things so that our marriages can be right and our households can be right, or even as a single person you can have a little more sense so that you're not in a situation where you're dating somebody for the physical and not thinking long term, and whatever the case is. Like, we all make silly mistakes, we all do
Right.
things that everybody do, even our parents did. They were sneaking around and creeping around and doing, everybody's gonna
But
do that.
see, I think with our parents, well, two things. You brought up two good points. TV is huge because, like, when our parents grew up, TV, I mean, I know my parents said after like 9, it just cut off. Like, it wasn't even on. Like, it was like, that's it. Like, no shows were on. You couldn't watch TV after 9. It wasn't like your parents cut it off. TV, cable cut off. So, but you got us. You stayed up late watching BT Jazz, and you watch it like,
I don't even
I
know what
mean, I
time they
know I
listen
was in
to.
high school when was it Pretty Ricky, the group? What they call
Uh-huh.
Pretty Ricky?
Uh-huh.
And I'm no, I
Like you
can't, no, because I
all.
was about to say B2K, but Pretty Ricky. And I
That was
remember,
the like nasty
yeah,
group.
but it was a
Yeah.
song that they had, and I was like,
Which song was
I
it?
can't even. I know I can't remember, but I was
You
like, no,
say
it
it's
wasn't that. It wasn't
because
that. It
which
was
one
a.
was it? Now I
It
gotta
was
know.
like, you hit me up on your cell phone.
You tell me
Yeah,
you
yeah,
did
yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay, okay.
I thought that was gonna be my wedding song. Like, I was like, oh, like I was into that. I was
Wait,
like,
what's that song?
I just said
I
it,
know, but
but
what's the
I
name
I
of
don't remember.
it?
But and it was like, I barely listened to the words. I said, "Oh, that's deep. Like, that's deep." So yeah, I feel so. I'm in high school, listening to that song. I'm like, "Oh yeah, this about to be okay." And then your little crushes and stuff in high school, and you like, "Oh yeah, okay." But it's like
Oh my
some
gosh.
unrealistic world, and
Yeah.
it's like, but that had a big. I said that to say how strongly that affected my
Yeah,
emotions,
yeah.
to where it's like I'm feeling a
You
certain
thought a
kind of
Pretty
way.
Ricky song was gonna be your wedding song?
I was I mean, I liked a lot of songs that
Oh,
were
okay, okay,
a
oh,
little
okay.
different. But what I'm saying is that, like, but that, even though, and my parents didn't even listen to none of that. My parents, older, and it's not what then it's not like I'm seeing my parents, but I'm listening to Pretty Ricky like, this is what
and
marriage
that,
is.
and that's how we know, you know, our parents, the stuff they was listening to,
Mhm.
won't much better.
But
Their
I
stuff was
think that
nasty
there
too.
was more community influence than
Right.
the TV.
Exactly.
Like I think
That's exactly.
they might have listened to nasty songs, but they know they mom or they dad or they aunt and auntie,
Or their
like
neighbor.
our neighbor, was
Mm.
gonna be like, "Now this is what you need to do." Like this in church, like church was a big thing. Like our generation, we we go to church sometimes, but
Our generation is more about
but
relationship.
we're more about. But see, church was the one thing I will say about church regarding marriage versus husband and wife is church defined the roles. Growing up, like church did define the roles. It's just nobody listened to them. Like nobody was like, I mean, if you read the Bible for anybody who's like into the Bible and says what a wife's supposed to do and husband and what love it says it. But people, nah, that's old. That's old. But it's like,
It still applies
but the
though.
church actually said what it is, and that's really like,
I mean, just like when we were dating, we were going to Bible study and we were doing we did premarital counseling. And we were when we were in premarital counseling, the pastor literally said, if you're he was speaking to the women, he said, if you have been with a man for 15 months, he literally put a time frame on it and said, you ain't married
mm-hmm.
yet, that man ain't serious about you. And I remember, I don't know if it was before we got married or it was after. I was like, when did you know you wanted to marry me? And you said by the third date, and you explained that most men know they want to marry somebody
Well,
whatever
see,
they know.
and that's what I that's a good point.
But a lot of people are staying dating or
But
engaged
like I
for 10
said,
years and not doing anything.
men will know because see that's why I said men have pride in being a husband and love. So if a man knows he's ready to be married for two reasons. He's confident and happy in his life, career, like basically career
As an
as an
individual.
individual.
Yeah.
And then so if there's a man who's dragging along, it's two things. One, he don't know if he want to be with you. Well, no, I'm gonna say this: if he's dragging along, his career is not together, and because a man whose career is together, if he don't want to marry you, he's not gonna waste his time. It's gonna be about 6 months that he's gonna be gone. But if he wants to be with you, you're gonna know soon because he's got everything together.
Mm.
But
So
if
you're saying if a man wants to, so okay, it sounds like what you're saying is typically men start thinking about marriage once they have their life together. But
mm-hmm.
are there situations where men meet somebody and they're like, I need to get my life together because I want to marry this woman? Like, or is it
That's
typically
more the
the
anomaly, not the norm. So that's more the you got. There are some men who will meet a woman and she may make him want to get his life together and stuff
mm-hmm.
like that. But typically, if a man's life isn't together, he's gonna date you forever because he's trying to figure himself out. The thing is, men still have that archaic morale in their head. So they still got that I want to be a husband, I want to be a provider.
Yeah.
So in their head, they're kind of like, well, let me get my stuff together. Like it's like there. It may not be fully there, but it's there. So a man, if he doesn't have it all together and he's just dating you and all that stuff, he's still trying to figure, which is why you could be with a man forever. But if a man has it together and he doesn't, if he has it together and he's dragging you, to me, if a man has it together, he wouldn't drag you along because you're
I
gonna know
agree.
your place because he still has that archaic idea in his head, like I need to be a provider. So if he really wants to marry you, it's gonna be like you gonna know unless he has like a certain deadline, like okay, 2 years you get married. Like if he's living by
I see.
some
Yeah. So,
rule,
yeah.
but most
Yeah.
of the time a man is gonna know when he wants to marry you because his life, he's good with everything going on.
Right. So most men who are this is a question. Are most men who have themselves together as an individual prior to dating or even marriage, are they more, in your opinion, are they more likely to stay married? Like, do you feel like men know how to choose when they have it together? Because I feel like for women, um, till a certain point of your life, for women, I think there's like a gray area. Because women, with our emotions and hormones and all the things, to me, I feel like we're consistently in a state of learning and growing and trying to figure things out. And I personally think that's why man was created for woman, to help balance that out, to help the woman see herself and her potential and all the things, which is why I can see why a lot of men think that women are the issue. Even though there are situations and circumstances and cases where men are the issue, being a married woman in our path looking the way that it does and all of the things that we have experienced and gone through, I genuinely believe that a woman needs the right man in her life to help her become grounded. I don't think a woman is ever 100% grounded until she is married, in my opinion, because there are certain things as a woman you're not going to know about yourself, you're not going to recognize or acknowledge until you have that right man to help guide you to that and bring, you know what I'm saying? So I just feel like I agree with a lot of what you say, but I don't want to sweep under the rug that sometimes it is men.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not denying it's men, but men have two things. Men have a checklist of what they want their wife to be, and men also have a checklist of stuff they not gonna allow. So if a man has a checklist of what he's gonna stay married regardless,
Okay.
unless and it's not even like, oh well, I'm not happy. Like, when have you heard a man say he divorced a woman because he's not happy? Usually it
It's
be
the
some
woman
off the
saying stuff
wall
like
foul
that.
stuff. If a man fouls, it's some like stuff you done seen, like, oh, like, yeah, I can see why he
I
did it.
mean, more often than not,
Yeah,
it
like
is the
men,
woman
because
filing
men
for
are more
divorce.
logical. So men are. It's like you break the rule, this what happens. It's not like men
Men
can get
aren't
a.
as emotion
Yeah,
based
they're
as
not even.
women.
Yeah, they're not gonna be emotional. So it's usually, if a man files for divorce, is because she's done something that crossed the line that he wouldn't allow.
And I feel like for women, um, the he crossed the line looks like whatever they needed to look like in a moment
Hmm.
for them to have it out.
And I
And
will say that it goes both ways, because I'm not even trying to sound like men this,
mm,
but women tolerate a lot more than men do.
I agree too. I
So
agree.
women, that's the emotion side. So a woman, she may have something that she wouldn't allow, but the emotions may come out, and it's like, let me think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, but what she doesn't allow could always change. Where a man usually just has one thing he's not gonna allow. It's never gonna change. It's not like he's gonna say, if she does. It's like, surprisingly, I mean, I know women who a woman cheats on a man, and a man typically won't leave. Like,
In
uh,
what world?
no, I'm saying a man would leave, but men don't. It's like, I think, because men, and my out of what I know, not I don't know everything, but I'm saying because they still hold that pride in being a husband.
Mm.
So it's like, all right, I'm a husband.
So you feel like a woman is quicker to leave if a man cheats than a
I
man would
don't
be
think
quicker
I
to
don't
leave?
I think, but I think a woman, it go maybe, but I think if he cheats, she's not staying because she still want to be a wife. She's staying because her emotions still love him or something.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Where
Yeah.
a man might stay because he still want to be a husband. Or a woman might stay for the kid, like her emotions tied to the kids. You know what I'm saying? So
Oh,
it's like,
yeah, yeah,
but it's
yeah.
more emotional versus like a logical decision.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
But
Now I
I,
have a question that is very controversial in today's
mhm.
society. What order do you think priorities should be in a marriage? The Bible says God, your spouse, your children, and then everyone else. I 100% agree with that. And I 1,000%, in my opinion, see why it has to be that way. But what are your thoughts about that order?
Yeah, I think that's the correct order because God or whoever you believe in is the ult that's going to be your God, your moral compass. Like that's going to make you decide like that's what you can't explain.
Yes.
So that's the ultimate power that's going to save, do anything.
Right.
I think your spouse is next because you have to have a relationship with your spouse in order to provide what life you want for your children. Like
I
I think if
agree.
you don't put your spouse second,
What
it's
blueprint are
gonna
you leaving for the kids? If
yeah,
you
well it's
don't,
like you what blueprint are you leaving for the kids? And at the same time it's gonna be hard to maintain kids if you and the spouse
ain't on,
are
I agree.
on like if y'all aren't happy together, it's gonna be difficult to show your kids that.
Yes, I
Like
agree.
you can't show happiness if you're not happy.
Right,
So
right,
I think that's why the order is the way. And your kids leave. Like you raise your kids to move on and have their own life.
right.
Your spouse is who you live with
To adapt, do
to
you
death
part?
do you
Yeah,
part.
and I think that's very important to highlight and acknowledge because um a lot of people stay for the kids or do this for the kids and do that for the kids. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, as an individual, like when you choose to get married, that's a lifelong commitment. And if you don't like that person, like if you're marrying somebody that you genuinely don't like, what are
Hmm.
you getting married for? You know? And my main question for my constituents
Hmm.
is, when do millennials give themselves time to realize what they like in a person before they get physical, whatever, whatever? But to tie that back to the order, I feel like God has to be first, or whatever higher being you believe in, because they lay the foundation and they create that blueprint. The
Hmm.
spouse has to be second, especially if you have children, because, like you stated, if you and your spouse are not good, your offspring will never be good. It's always going to be discord, chaos, and commotion. Then it has to be your children, because, like you said, children leave, they grow up. We're responsible for our children up to a certain age. They become individuals and they have to choose their path, regardless of what blueprint we laid out, right?
Right.
But I feel like our generation, when things go wrong, they use the children as the backup. Oh, my kids this and my kids that and da 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 da. But is it really the kid? You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
I
I
mean,
feel like people
I
always need a reason for something. And once your kids are grown and out the house, what's going to be your reason then? You
well, I
know?
think it's because there's no pride in marriage. Like I think it's legit. I don't think people, and I'll say this, I don't think society promotes women being wives. And so I think anytime something goes wrong, it's very quick to abandon. Like I don't think that there's no society doesn't present being a wife as something fun. It's always, well, I mean, even you can go on social media now, it's like, ooh, I gotta do this. Like nobody talks about the good of being a wife. Like you don't see any episodes about how happy I am being a wife. It's always wife has all this stuff to do, or mom has all this stuff to do, or wife has all, there's no positive promotion of being a wife.
Mm.
So I think naturally when things go bad, it's almost like you signed up for a job that you know you ain't gonna like, and the second something triggers it, you're like, let me get out of here, because the world is telling me, oh, being a wife, you gotta do this, you gotta do this, you gotta make sure you have this done, you gotta make sure it's the hardest job in the world, da 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 da. So it's like, if the second you feel like it's hard, you may be like, hmm, I don't, yeah, I need to get out of this because I probably have more fun single. And I don't think it's really until people get older is when they want to be with, they see the significance of being a wife or husband. But I will
When they don't
say,
want to be alone, they having
yeah,
ailments, they at the
but I
doctor.
really, like, if you think about it, there's no promotion of there's no, like, being a wife is a great thing.
I agree. And I think that does need to be promoted more because, in my
Hmm.
opinion, that nobody asked me for, but I'm going to
Hmm.
give my opinion anyway. Being a wife is a beautiful thing. Like, it's just beautiful for like a billion different reasons. It is beautiful. Does being a wife have its hard moments? Yes. But the hard moments do not outweigh the beauty of being a spouse. To me, it's just beautiful. And when I was younger, like elementary school, middle
Hmm.
school, I never thought I wanted to be married. You couldn't tell me I was going to be married. You couldn't pay me to be married. Then I went through a period of like, oh, I want to have 6 kids and I want to get married. And the song I thought I was going to get married to
Hmm.
was Donnell Jones Knocks Me Off My Feet because that was like the hot thing back then or whatever. And then, after high school, I went through this period of I'm going to be the favorite auntie. I'm not having no kids. And then I reached a point in my life where it was like, wait a minute, maybe I do want to be married. Like,
Hmm.
what is life? To me, what is life without marriage? Like, I would not rather go through life any other way than but being married to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it holds so much value. And I feel like I said before, you don't even really know yourself. You might know yourself 90%,
Hmm.
but you don't know yourself 100% until you're married. You don't know how deeply you can love. You don't know how protective you can be as a woman outside of the man. We desire
Hmm.
protection, but you get this level of protection, you get this level of confidence, you get this level of so many things that I feel like you will not experience unless you are married and you genuinely like your spouse. Now, are there moments where you ain't gonna like your spouse?
Hmm.
Yes. But when you genuinely like and love your spouse, even if you have a moment or a day or a second of not liking your spouse, you always get back to that happy space, that
Right.
comfort, that I feel like being married is like that feeling of I'm home. Like
Hmm.
when we drive into North Carolina, it's like,
Hmm.
oh, we home. Or,
Hmm.
if you on vacation and you like, I can't wait to lay in my bed and lay
Hmm.
on my pillows
Yeah.
because you so used to your bed. I feel like that's what your spouse should feel
I
like.
mean, and I do think it does, but like I said, without that lack of promotion, it
Yeah.
can get lost,
Yeah.
because
It's very easily
if
lost.
all you're seeing is like being single, everybody's having fun, it's just, I think that the narrative needs to change, because at the end of the day, like, marriage is hard. Marriage is hard, but it's like, that ain't all it is. It's
Right.
great too. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like, it's like, life is life at the end of the
Life
day.
hard.
Yeah, like, life is
But
hard,
it ain't all hard.
but it's like, I think that naturally people have to, like, okay, I'm gonna be married. Regardless of what roles you go by, there are roles. Like, it's like, if you get a job, you ain't asking them, well, one day can I be assistant administrator, next day can I be CEO, next day can I do, it's like, no, you got your role, you go by your role. But it's like, all these questions of, well, maybe I needed, it's like, it is what it is. Stop, like, everything don't gotta break, everything don't require change, everything don't gotta be like,
Overly
it need to
complicated.
be
Yeah.
this, it need to be this. And I think a lot of people have seen, maybe, like, they see just drama from television and all that stuff and think that's what marriage is and think that's what, but it's like this is entertainment. At the end of the day, this is
But
entertainment.
like we've said before, sometimes you can be so conditioned to drama
Mm-hmm.
that that's your normal. And unfortunately, for some people, that's what it is. Like if you grew
Mm-hmm.
up witnessing abuse, if you grew up witnessing
Yeah.
any level of drama for any extended amount of time, that becomes your normal. Drama feels like your comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Drama
Mm-hmm.
feels like home.
Home. Yeah.
But what you have to hold yourself accountable as an adult and realize drama is not home. Like there is beauty on the other side of that. And it's uncomfortable sometimes realizing that what you thought was normal isn't normal. That can be painful, it can be hurtful, that can be traumatizing itself. Realizing that, damn, my whole life I thought this is what normal was. And then when
Mm-hmm.
you get a glimpse of a reality you can create for yourself or what normal really is,
Yeah.
you go through this roller coaster of emotions. You go through withdrawals almost. Am I
Yeah.
going to be able to do this?
Mm-hmm.
I need, like, you start craving drama because that's what you're used to.
Yeah.
But once you're secure as an individual and as a married person, male or female, if you have that partner to help you through that, to balance that out, it's like,
And I think that what you said is, I think like our previous generations, there was a little shame when you got a divorce.
mm-hmm.
Like there was a little like,
Dismiss,
they would talk
dismiss
about you,
divorce.
yeah.
Y'all can't go over there and play with them no more.
Exactly. So it was like you tried to make it work. Like the
Yeah,
goal was to make it work.
yeah.
And it's like if you just that's why so like going back to our point, getting married because to get married or being a husband or wife, there was pride and all. I think you have to take pride in all of it because at the end of the day, you got married because you want to be married or whatever, but you became a wife or you became a husband,
And
even if that wasn't what your intentions were. You
that's
just
what
did
you
it for
did. And
love.
your
Now you
legacy
are
is attached to the foundation you left.
right. So
That's why
yeah.
they cared about marriage back in the day. And them last names meant something
Mm-hmm.
because that's the legacy you leaving behind. Like, oh, you marrying a Smith?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, like we're here for that. Or it could be you think you marrying that Jones?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-uh.
Uh-huh.
But now, none of that
It's
means
just
nothing.
love.
It don't
And
carry no
and and,
weight.
and the
It's
thing
like
is
you better test drive that before you marry it, and
right.
blah blah
And it's
blah.
like so much we talk about love, 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 but the reality is we're not even like love is a verb. Love is a choice. You choose to love somebody. It's not like, ooh, I feel good, so I love them. You're choosing to
Yeah.
love them. So we've created this new definition of love, which literally be up and down. Because if you go about your feelings are always all over the place. So literally, you could say you love them one day, hate them next day, love them again, because but that does like that's can't control. That's your feelings. Like everything you have to do. Like I said, I think the promotion of what marriage is, the promotion of being a wife, all of these things, because men, contrary to popular belief, men like men ain't rocking with a husband that they know is a active cheater or abuser or this, what like men. If you think about a man, is if he's this guy, the guys he's taking around is either single or just
Right. And I think
like he has no friends.
women need, I think more women need honest feedback from men. Like that should be a red flag. If you're dating a man who, one, doesn't have any male friends, or two, all their male friends are single or
Hmm.
whatever, that should be a red flag.
But like I
Like there
said,
needs to
men,
be a
yeah,
book on
men.
red flags.
So men, like I said, men hold each other more, and it's not even holding accountable, but it's judgment. Like a man will judge you if he's a good husband. they'll be like, hmm, why are you doing that? But like, I feel like I don't mean, I'm not a woman, so I don't know how women talk amongst each other. But I just feel like women are competing so much with each other that it's hard to even relay messages. Where men, we don't compete with each other. We check each other, but we're not in a competition. Like, it's not like, oh well. I mean, you got some. Usually, if you got a group of 7 guys, maybe 2 are in competition, and 5 are just whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think that with women, all 7 are in competition, so they're not even being open or
I
honest
think it might
or
be
all
2 out of
this.
the 7 that are not in competition.
Yeah, so okay, yeah,
Yeah,
so
the
2,
ratio is
yeah, it's
flop with
flop.
women. Yeah.
But I just feel like you can't even feel comfortable saying stuff because it's like it's hard to say like, oh well, I mean, you got your man a plate. Why you get him a plate? This ain't 1950. And it's like, what? It's, you know what I'm saying? Where if a man opens, if a husband open his wife's door, another husband ain't gonna say, bro, you still opening her door? It'll be the opposite. Like, you don't open her door, and it's like, let
Uh-huh.
me. I don't. That'd be
Uh-huh.
all right. Well, let me open the door. But I feel like on the flip side, you know what I'm saying? You see how that worked
Yeah.
though? It's
Yeah.
like a man will be judged off of what he's not doing,
And a
and a
woman will
woman
be
will be
judged
judged on
from what
what
she
she
does.
is doing.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I've had comments made like, you fixing his plate? Yeah, why wouldn't
That's
I?
what. Yeah. So it's that. Like I said, it's that. I think it's the media, society, all that, but it's this like negativity that's starting to be given
Yeah.
being a wife.
I think
Not.
marriage for women in today's society has been sexualized. There's no
Mm-hmm.
real value to it. It's
Yeah.
sexualized. It's like, you need to be wearing lingerie. You need to be
Yeah.
keeping him happy because what you
Mm-hmm.
ain't doing, the next woman will, and da 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 da. When it's about more than that
Yep.
with being married, it's just the bottom line. So I think that's the difference between for women. That's the difference between wanting to be married and wanting to be a wife. Because at the end of the day, them boobs gonna start sagging, that ass gonna start dragging, and everything ain't gonna look the same like it did when you first met whoever it is you're with. So you can't be with somebody for trying to be sexy and sexualized and trying to do what you got to do because the next woman gonna do it. It's not about that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just want to be married, kudos to you. Good luck with being alone
Mm-hmm.
till death do you part. Now, if you want to be a wife, you have to be prepared to deal with everything that comes with that, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, all of it. Be prepared for all of that. It's not just about being sexy. It just ain't. Like, I'm sure you'd rather come home with me in leggings and a t-shirt, but dinner is made 5 days out of 7 versus coming home to me with my butt out, ready to lay it on you.
Hungry.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because when the average person is hungry, that's frustration, anger, offense. I ain't get married for this, and all of that. Being a wife is not just about sexual things. It's about more than that. It's about taking care of home.
But it has to become preached to women
I
that's
agree.
enjoyable.
It
Not
is
like a
enjoyable.
job.
But
No,
it
I'm
is
saying, but
though.
it's preached to women like being a wife is a job.
I agree. In
It's like,
music, in
woo.
shows, videos,
It's like being a wife
is
is a job.
exhausting.
It's like
But it's not.
who very few people be like, ooh, I love my job. But it's like, so
You still going every day
if
getting
you
that check though.
attach job to wife, it's automatically gonna feel miserable.
Yeah. But
But
it's
if
not
you attach
miserable though.
wife to like living your best life is being a wife, then that the whole narrative could change. But that's not the message.
I agree. I agree. I love when you come home and can just put your stuff down and don't have to do nothing. Or you can cook if you want to, or we can sit down and talk. Or like I love that. I don't want the pressure of trying to be sexy when I'm 70. Like I don't want that pressure, okay? You met me in my 20s. I was sexy in my 20s. You like it is what it is. Who wants to put that pressure on
Well, I
themselves?
mean, and the thing is, it's like that's not what marriage. You don't
Mm-mm.
men don't marry. Obviously, I'm saying not there are men, but I'm just saying that men don't marry for sexy.
Yeah.
It's
But
like
the happiest moments
they
aren't with sex.
yeah, but
There are some happy moments
it's
with
like
sex, but the
if you
happiest
watch
moments are
if you
in
watch
life.
television or if you watch social media, you may think as a woman men want sexy, but if you think about all the men, Wiz Khalifa married Amber Rose, divorced. Kanye, Kim, divorced. Like all the men who marry is sexy, quote unquote, the stuff. And Jay Z cheated on me. It ain't about sex. Like it ain't about that. It just ain't about none of that. But
But do you know how many women are being told by their mothers or
well,
their
yeah, I
aunts
know that.
that,
I know.
girl, you better get that lingerie. Girl, you better do this. Don't be walking around looking like no grandma.
Or don't do this for like
Uh huh.
yeah. I mean, I know
Because if you start doing that, you're
it's
going to have to do it forever.
it's the message. It's the
It's
message.
not just the media. Sometimes it be
Yeah, it's
your
the
own
message.
folks.
And it's like I think it's just women, like we said in one of our other episodes, you can't use people as soapbox. Like if I wouldn't wanna unless somebody specifically asked me if I ate at a bad restaurant or if I saw a movie and was like it sucked. I'm not gonna say it sucked. I'm gonna say, I mean, you watch it is what I'll say. Because if you say it sucked, they gonna go in thinking it sucked, and they may not even,
Get what
what I'm
they
saying.
need from
So
it.
you got
Yeah.
to be careful on what you share based off your experiences, because until you evaluate all of your experiences, unless they're specifically asking, you got to be careful, especially mothers to daughters and all that. You can't just and fathers to son, everything. You can't give like like vomit it out. You gotta really think about it because that's gonna leave impression.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe the narrative can get back to getting married to be married and to be a husband and to be a wife instead of just marriage and love and engagements and
Sexy.
these great weddings and all this stuff. Because I mean,
But
but
if you have a great wedding and you living
I mean, I like I said,
in your car, what?
I think it's the times we living in.
Yeah.
So you got any final words?
Yeah. I don't know. I guess my final words would be for everybody, regardless of your generation, if you're not married right now, my final words would be just being intentional about what you're doing. Everything doesn't have to be surface level. And every decision that you make in life has an effect on you, but it doesn't have to, control what the rest of your life looks like. So if you want to be married just to be married, have fun. But if you want to be married to be a wife or a husband, be intentional. Just be intentional. That's my final words. Because in being intentional goes a long way. Being sexy is temporary. You ain't gonna have the muscles forever.
Yeah, no,
I
that's
ain't gonna have this
good.
little waist forever.
And I would say my final words are: if you are married, start talking about as a husband. Start telling your boys how good it is to be married as a wife. Start telling your girls how good it is to be a wife. And I think if we all do that one by one, the narrative will naturally change.
Yes, I agree, babe. That's great. Final word.